I have a message. So give me a minute to set this up without breaking something. All right. We went to see Noah's Ark. We did. We went to the Ark Encounter. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about some of the things that we saw and the impression I got or came away with. Actually, it was nothing new, but I've seen this before. Yahweh, open our eyes that we might see wonders from your word. Is my microphone on? It's what? I can't hear it. I can't hear anything. I must not have turned on my hearing aids properly today. Okay. Margaret and I visited the Ark Encounter, and then the next day we went up and saw the Creation Museum. From that, I was greatly inspired. I recommend it as a trip. You want to go see it. I recommend spending all day there. I recommend getting one of those little scooters, unless you like walking. And you will stand in line. I don't mind the trip, and I don't mind things like that. It's just there were way too many people for me. Oh, that's what the Ark looks like. Was that what you were seeing all along? Because I never even looked. Is that better?
That's better.
Okay, that's a picture of the Ark that we saw. All right. Where they started with this and at the Creation Museum, and where we start, is in the beginning. The first line of the Torah, the first line in Scripture says, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashemayim ve'et haaretz. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. Chapter 1 of Genesis tells us his creation story. It tells us of the 6 days of creation. He leaves out a lot of details. Genesis chapter 1 tells us that everything took place in a 6-day period. It tells us that Elohim speaks everything into existence. And we're not given any details. He expects us to accept it the way he wrote it. Now, in Hebraic thinking, that's exactly what we do. It is. That's it. It is. The 6 days of creation. This is a nice artistical rendition of it. I like it very much. The Bible closes the creation week in Genesis 1:31, and it says, Elohim saw all that he had made, and see, it was very good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the 6th day. Now, he didn't say, see, it was very good. He said, Hine tov ma'od. Hine means behold. Hine. I kind of like that word. Yeah, listen up. It's listen up. It's all good. It's all very good. Now, in the beginning, the Bible is clear. You read the first 6 chapters of Genesis, it's all exactly clear. All of creation took place in 6 24-hour days. There is nothing, not even the most microscopic hint in the text and for the rest of the Bible that there were millions of years involved. That's one of the things that when coming away from that Ark Encounter in the Creation Museum, that was one of the things that I was so impressed with, because that's what it was. Beautifully. And you got to understand, Yahweh can do that. You know, he's God. I don't know if you knew that. He is, we aren't. And he can create everything. And he can speak it into existence and bam, there it is. And that's it. We don't need millions of years. Man needs millions of years, and that's where that whole gap theory come from. And if you don't understand what the gap theory is, don't look it up. It's a serious waste of time and energy. It messes with the internet, too, when you start looking garbage up, all right? There's something else. Thus, the heavens and the earth were completed in all of their array. Everything was done. There is no more stuff being made again and some more. It's finished. He did it all, and he said it's really good. So, we're not seeing new stars come into being. There are no new animals popping up in the swamps and stuff like. Oh, wait a minute, there are. Washington, D.C. is a special case. Okay, so that's outside of creation. I don't know what that is up there. Now, here's something we need to really know. Now, again, I'm talking Hebraic thinking. Yahweh is not obligated to tell us how he created everything, or even any of the details of his creation. He is not obligated to tell us anything. Everything he wrote in the book is what he told us. He doesn't have to elaborate if he doesn't want to. Hebraic thinking says there is a God. That's it. We don't have to go and prove it. Greek, Western thinking, Roman thinking says, oh, we got to prove God. Nope. Not according to Scripture. Now here's something. We are given a choice. We're given a choice to believe that he created everything that exists, or believe all that exists came into being all on its own. You have the right. You have the choice. Believe what you want. He either did or he didn't. After Yahweh finished creating everything in these 6 days, in Genesis 2, he says, and in the seventh day, Elohim completed his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. Now I want you to think about this. Just hang on to this thought. On the seventh day, he rested. He included the seventh day in his creation week. It's part of it. Thus, when we celebrate, honor, and guard the Sabbath on the seventh day, we are actually participating in his creation week. He is allowing us to be a part of that great memorial to his creation on the seventh day. Because if we go back to the first day, and you look into Scripture and you read the Hebrew, it says tohu vabohu, which means it was a chaos. Tohu vebohu cannot be adequately translated into English, except it's a mess. That's what it was. So he doesn't want us celebrating back then. He wants us celebrating on his day. And he's resting, which is kind of, begs the question, why did he have to rest? In reality, he wants us to. Hey, guess what? On the sixth day, he created man. By looking at the scriptures, it looks like he created man. It's sort of like the last thing that he did. So what's the first thing man gets to do? Rest. He hadn't done jack. He hasn't done anything. He's just sort of woke up and he gets to rest. When you got married, yeah, okay. Well, then you need a rest. The seventh day is the completion of the creation. Get a hold of that in your mind. The seventh day is completion. Yahweh blessed the seventh day. He set it apart because on it he rested from all his work which Elohim had made. That's what the book says. He blessed it. He blessed the seventh day. The first day was a mess. Please? He blessed it. He sanctified it. He said, Shabbat Shalom. Peace of the Sabbath. Okay, some important points about creation. Yahweh, this is right out of the book. Yahweh creates plants and animals according to their kind. They reproduce according to their kind. A wheat plant will always make wheat. It will never make tomatoes. Yes? A frog will always produce frogs. He will never produce kittens. It is never, ever going to happen because he said so, that all this stuff is going to be after its kind. He uses that a couple of times there in that first week. So we expect everything to be after its kind. Now, I'm certain that the animals in the first week might not look like what they do today. And there's a discussion about that when you go see the Creation Museum thing and the Ark Museum. And man kind of got in there and he took cows and he made different kinds of cows. He wanted cows that produced lots and lots of milk. So through selective breeding, he made cows that made lots and lots and lots and lots of milk. Dogs came from wolves. Can you imagine the big bad wolf coming by and taking a look at your little puppy, your pug, or Samson, our little poodle, and saying that came from me? Oh man, what a bummer. So then, Elohim creates man in his image, and this is out of the book. In his image, in the image of Elohim, he created him, male and female, just a point there, male and female, he created them. Why? So that they would reproduce after their kind. Now, there's a creation that kind of goes animals, plants, and stuff, and everything is lined up. There's no tree. All these animals and plants are lined up along this line, and man is kind of like a separate thing. Man is a separate thing because into him he breathed the breath of life. So he took this thing of mud out of the earth, and he breathed into it a special breath. Yes, animals have spirit, because it says so in Ecclesiastes. Man has a specialer spirit, much different. And he created male and female. Did I make the point? You got that? And Yahweh gives a first command to these male and female that he had created. And he says, you can eat of everything in the garden. Do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of the good and the evil. Now, do you know, I want you to think about this. Now, this is something I've thought about a lot. The tree of life was in the garden. But he told them, do not eat of the tree of this good and evil tree over here. He didn't say anything about the tree of life. So, is it possible that the first thing they should have done is gone over to the tree of life? I don't know. The tree of life, or the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, did not contain apples. It was a fruit. That's all we know. It's not specific. I assume it was something that maybe looked like a fig or something. Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, disobeyed this one command. And I don't want to go into that whole story because I got a lot to say about that particular disobedience. But they were given one command: do not eat this stuff. So, Christian church, when you want to tell me, well, God really doesn't care what I eat, don't say that. That's not true. They disobeyed a simple command. Don't eat it. They didn't even have to go over there. There was no fence around it, by the way. Don't do it. Do not do that. And they went ahead and they did that. Thus, this disobedience brings sin into the world. Sin is breaking the Torah commandments. God gave them a command. They broke the command. That's what sin means. They broke the commandment. Consequently, very, very bad stuff happened. Pretty much first thing that has to happen is they discover, oh, wow, we're naked. And Yahweh had to kill some animals to make clothing for them. Bad news. Death was now entered. But then Yahweh says something in chapter 3. I will put enmity between you. Now he's talking to the serpent. Okay, we always want to say the snake, but it's a creature. I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head, and you shall crush his heel. You write that down. That's the first promise of a Messiah, of the Messiah, Yeshua. It's right there in Genesis. Years ago in Yeshiva, we had a course on apologetics, I think was the name of the course. But anyhow, how do you talk to a Jewish person about the Messiah, but you can never use the New Testament? Well, you start with that verse. That talks about the Messiah. So things go along, and there's a bunch of discussion about people. Now, there's a couple of things that's interesting. One is that everybody did what seemed right in their own eyes, which is going to show up later that in the days of Noah, everybody did what seemed right in their own eyes. I had to do a message on in the days of Noah. And Yahweh saw the wickedness of man. It was great on the earth. And every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil all the time. And Yahweh was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. Now, this is a song. Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. So I was waiting for somebody to start that song. We had one this morning when we all came in here. So maybe somebody would change that song with Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Noah found grace. Okay, yeah, something like that. So he did. And Yahweh said, okay, you build me an ark. And Noah went off and he had a prayer meeting and he got all the elders together and they set up a ark building fund, and it took them 200 years to get everything together, and the water had been and gone long after that. No. First thing he did was start building the ark. And he had to, because he really didn't have a whole lot of time. And this was a considerable job. And if you go to this Ark Encounter, now, yeah, they had, believe me, artistic license was a big thing. But you ask the questions, how'd they feed all them animals? They answer it at that place. Well, this is what we think, and their answer is pretty good. It looks like that was realistic. And they built this thing. They built this great big boat thing, and they were able to take all of the animals that there were and build and feed them and save them all. Because Yahweh told them, make it out of gopher wood. Now, nobody knows what gopher wood really is. But it was good, strong wood. It made a good ark. Put rooms in it, covered inside and out with pitch stuff. And all of the living of all flesh, 2 of each, you are to bring unto the ark. Now, later he also says 7 pairs of clean animals. But notice this. He says bring a male and a female, because those animals are supposed to reproduce. So I'm going to feed those animals in this ark. And Noah's saying, wow, how am I going to do that? He did it. So all of the animals everywhere are going to be brought to the ark, and they're going to go on the ark, and he is going to take care of them. Is it a little windy there for you? All of the clean beasts, you take 7 pairs. Now this begs a question. Did Noah know what a clean beast was compared to an unclean beast? Did he know cattle that chewed the cud were clean, and like pigs, which don't chew the cud, are unclean? Did he know that? He had to. How? Somehow the Torah that was written later was put in his minds. He knew those things. After a while, he's going to go and he's going to do a sacrifice. He had to know how to do that. And the waters were mighty 150 days. That's a long time to tread water. And they didn't. They were unable to. Well, also, there was a lot of storms and stuff, and I'm sure stormy seas didn't help treading water very much. But they died. Here's something you have to know. Noah's flood was a real event. Now, I personally own, because I found them myself, some fossilized, some teeth that were not stone fossils. They were in a layer of sand, 6 inches or so thick, of land animals and sea animals. I'm not going to tell the whole story because it takes too long. But I'll tell you this, land and sea animals all died together. And they all died together in literally in a matter of a few hours. And they were all buried together really, really fast. And there's a piece of wood in there too that I found under 30 feet of sand. Now, I didn't dig the 30 feet out. That's another story. Now, just like creation, the events of the floods were miraculous. How the flood came to be was a real Class A type miracle, just like creation was. And just like creation, the evidence of the flood is all around us. If you drive down the mountain here in Tennessee, from where we live down to Sparta, you will pass these formations of rocks. Now you look in those formations of rocks that have been laid down over millions of years, we're told, and you find the evidence of erosion. Because if it took millions of years to lay down each layer, there must be erosion in between the layers, yes? Right. It's not there. The evidence is all around us. It is so obvious, as a term I like to use, it is intuitively obvious to the most casual observer. If you can't see it, carry on. Here's my conclusion. The Bible is true, or it is not true. It is black or white, 1 or 0, hot or cold. It is binary. There is no gray. And you read through the text of Scripture and you see it over and over again. It is or it is not. You believe it or you don't. You are given very few choices. So if Yahweh says, these are my laws, and he never says anywhere that I'm going to change a particular law, which he doesn't, then they are his laws. They are his laws today, exactly as much as they were the day that they were presented to Moses on the mountain. And as we know, Yeshua is the lawgiver. It's in James. Look it up. He gave the Torah, the law, the commandments to Moses, who wrote them down in a book, that'd be a scroll, and gave them to us. The 10 Commandments were actually written by Yahweh himself. And he says in the 4th command, 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, and the 7th day is the Sabbath rest. The 7th day, so that kills all kinds of lunar Sabbath things, that kills changing the day, because if Yeshua gave us the Sabbath day, as he did, and the other Sabbaths in Leviticus 23, he has the right to change it. And he never did. He did not say, now I'm going to make a change to the law. The first day is the Sabbath, and the other 6 days are your work days. He never said any kind of wording that changed those words. My conclusion and my comments are, the Bible is what it is. It says what it says, or it does not. If you want to change it just a little bit here or there, you kind of have to change the whole thing. You can't say, well, I'm going to obey this, but not this. Here's something else. Just because there's no temple does not mean we can't do the other feast days. There's 7 of them, we got things to do. It says bring an offering to the temple and da-da-da-da-da. Well, you can't do that. But that has nothing to do with not celebrating that other day. Okay? It is or it isn't. Shalom, y'all.